clickbait. Ano ba talaga, 15 or 10? Kasi 15 medyo pwede pa eh. Pwede ka kumaganap ng magandang apartments sa medyo magandang lugar sa Pilipinas, di ba? Pero okay na yan kahit yung mga 3 million, di ba? Or mga 1 million lang, pwede na rin. Pwede na magbakasyon. Pwede na magbakasyon. Ay. Ito na naman si Juanito, troll boy. Yan. Ganun lang, madali lang na may block yung mga trolls ngayon. Umayos kayo ha, umayos kayo. Mag-block kayo dyan. Umayos kayo. Dami nagalit sa akin dun sa video ko, Bakit? Nagsishare naman ako ng saan na ba yan? Yung mga nagsasayaw-sayaw, yung mga di ba? Syempre, naman, satire naman yun, humor naman yun. Ito talaga mga tao talaga, walang sense of humor. Nung paano na silang nasa power, kung ano ng mga kaewanan, ng mga kaekbangan ng pinagagawa nila, sila pa yung sila pang nag-accusa na, nag-spread kayo ng fake news, ganun. Wala, pikon lang kayo eh. Wala, tapos na, laos na kayo. Anyway, pero feeling ko, may nag-comment ba na, secret fan ka yata ni ganito. Sabi ko, hindi, baka ikaw secret fan sa akin. Di, wala na. Dapat ganun ang sagutin mo sa mga troll na yun. Okay? So, okay, anyways guys, let's get serious. Eto na. So, what we have been discussing for a very, very long time, eto na talaga. It's official right now. Ayon kay former Vice President Leonor Leni Robredo, I have decided to run for the mayorship of Naga. Mahirap na ipilit to run for something na parang hindi align sa capacities ko just to hold a national position. That's interesting. So is she saying that hindi tugma sa kanyang Senado? That's an interesting. Well, sa bagay, I mean, lahat naman ng position ni Ma'am Leni throughout the years were executive, di ba? Vice Presidente. Hindi eh. Nag-congresswoman siya, di ba? Well, baka siguro ang pag-intindi niya sa congresswoman position is still an LGU work. Kasi naka-nest ka pa rin dun sa base mo. Kasi obviously, she's referring here to the Senate, di ba? Yung fiscalizing job, yung ganun. Pero actually, in fairness, credit to Ma'am Leni, siguro tanggap niya talaga na hindi siya yung tipo na mag-fiscalize, na mag-a-attack, mag-criticize type. I mean, we already saw that in her 6 years in office. Actually, interestingly, in retrospect, Leni saying na hindi align yung kanyang capacities to, of course, we all know, Senate ang pinag-usapan dito. Probably is also why she did not take the fight to Duterte in a way that many people expected, diba? Yung essentially do the Leila de Lima / Riza Hontiveros style na go and attack and criticize, Duterte right and left, Hindi ginawa ni Leni yun eh. So siguro sinasabi niya, it's just not her style. She's just not, she's just built differently, right? Iba yung core expertise na. She's really an executive type. She's a quiet worker. She wants to get things done from, essentially in quiet. Ayun niya yung all out and, with guns blazing and attacking and criticizing. Essentially the fiscalizer job, no? Na very ably being executed by Riza Hontiveros. And back in the day also by Senator Leila de Lima. So at least interestingly. And, there are also some people who say, yeah, I mean, senator is a different job. Being a senator is different from having an executive position. And in fact, what's interesting is, usual lang sinasabi natin is, or at least the conventional wisdom is, pag naging senador ka, dahil na-prove mo na meron kang national profile, pwede yan ang maging stepping stone mo for becoming the president. But from what we have seen in recent years, serving in an LGU position is a very good training ground for being the next president. Although, of course, interestingly, in the case of Bongbong Marcos, he was also a former senator. In the case of President Aquino, he was also a former senator, right? In the case of Arroyo, she was also a former senator, right? In the case of Erap Estrada, she was also a former senator. So the only two presidents that I can think in contemporary times na hindi naging ex-senator, well, Marcos Sr. was also an ex-senator. Let's not forget that. So actually, if you look at it statistically, numerically, historically, Senate was always the stepping stone for the presidency. But you have the phenomenon of Duterte, who never served in the Senate or any national position of importance before running for the president, but because he supposedly, or at least he projected some level of competence in handling one of the biggest and most prosperous cities in the country, which is Davao City, yun yung naging basis niya. That's exactly what also Binay, Jejomar Binay wanted to do. That's exactly also what Isko Moreno wanted to do, right? And in the case of Ramos naman, he was an ex-defense secretary, ex-general, so iba naman yung trajectory niya. So statistically, the best way, I mean, to see if someone has ambition for the highest office is whether this person is really interested in running for Senate, right? Or for a very senior cabinet position. But usually yung mga nag-cabinet position tas tumakbo for elected office, not necessarily all did well, right? I mean, let's say with Gibo, if he can finally win a national position this coming elections, all the Senate elections next year will be the most competitive one. But going back to this, it's quite interesting for Leni to say that na hindi tugma yung mga kanyang strengths, rather. I mean, she's very humble, so she doesn't say yung galing ko or yung specialization ko or yung mga skills ko. She just used the word very generically, very, very neutral. Ang term na ginamit niya is capacities. So yung capacities niya daw is hindi necessarily tugma sa Senate. So obviously she ran for the president and she was the vice president. So talagang ang in-imply na dito is executive talagang gusto niya. At sa tingin niya, yun yung tugma talaga sa kanyang kapasidad, sa kanyang skill set, no? Tingin ko mas align yung skill set ko. Ginamit na talaga yung word ng skill set pala, no? Skill set ko doon. If I become mayor of Naga, marami akong pwedeng i-showcase na, 'di ba, parang ipakita sa mga tao na this can be done, that it's possible to start programs that are replicable in other areas. Ooh, that's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. For Leni to say, first of all, na mas tugma sa kanyang executive position, whether it's a highest level running for the president or it's the, it's as the mayor of Naga. But this is where, guys, it's really, really interesting. Ang sinasabi na dito is that gusto niya ipakita na good governance is possible. Gusto niya ipakita na pwede yung mga initiatives and projects that she has in mind. And obviously, as someone who is active in civil society, who has been active in grassroots initiatives, helping farmers, helping ordinary people throughout the decades, well before she became the national figure that she became, when she ran against BBM successfully in 2016. And then, in fairness, it was a decent performance by her considering everything and how late she came in the race in 2022. Ang sinasabi niya dito is, I want to show that essentially we can create best practices here because what she's saying is that posible na magsimula ka ng mga programa na replicable, na pwedeng gayahin or pwedeng maging inspirasyon sa ibang lugar. So essentially, she's looking at running for the mayor of Naga, not only to make Naga great again, although Naga has been a great, great place for a very long time, thanks again to the legacy of Jesse Robredo, among others. But what she's looking at is also making Naga a kind of a showcase city for the rest of the country. Again, Leni being humble, Leni, not being a boastful type of person. Again, she couched it in a very humble, non-presumptuous language. But at least she's honest enough to say that ang gusto natin ipakita dito is that kaya yan sa iba't ibang lugar. So yung term na replicable ito in other areas, yung replicable and yung part na sinasabi na replicable, that's extremely, extremely important. Now, obviously, again, trabaho ko lang yan. I'm not, imputing or I'm not trying to, impose anything. But I won't be surprised. The reading of other people would be, so you're saying that you can do some successful things in Naga that can be done nationally. Therefore, you're not necessarily ruling out the possibility of running again for the presidency and perhaps this time with greater preparation, with greater momentum, and really an exhibit A. Diba? Kasi nahirapan siya nung from vice-presidente to presidente. Because there, as a vice president, her greatest achievement was how she had a clean administration. No corruption, transparency, among others. But because she was completely sidelined and pinaalis sa kabinete, she couldn't really show many projects, right? Kasi limitado lang yung resources niya. So she proved that with limited resources, you can achieve a lot. But still, with the resources of a mayor of a major city, a beautiful city, a successful city, an LGU star city like Naga, she could do things that she was not able to do as a vice president. And for other people, they would say, aha, so maybe this could be the stepping stone for the presidency or another run at the presidency in 2028. In fact, if there's anything we learned in 2022 is that you can run for a high office, lose, just like BBM, and then run again, in his case, even for a higher office, and then he ended up successful if you play your cards well. My problem, though, with that speculation, because it is really a speculation, is that parang masyadong mabilis for her to just run as a mayor for one term lang and then run immediately for presidency. So it is also possible that she wants to do 3 terms and then maybe look at beyond 2028 and let's see where it goes from there, right? It is possible if a progressive government takes over, let someone like Risa or someone more centrist na hindi mala Digong or mala BBM, maybe she will be open to coming back to serve in a cabinet position later on. But as I said, yun nga clearly Leni is looking at creating a showcase governance. And I mean showcase in a positive sense, right? Inspiration for others. But I won't be surprised others will also speculate what will be the plan for 2028. But as I said again, parang very short if she runs right away. It will come off wrong. And I think that was the problem with Isko, di ba? Now, 1 term pa lang siya sa pagka-mayor ng Manila, tumakbo ka agad. So, naging mukhang stepping stone lang siya. So, in retrospect, some people would question whether he was really committed to Manila or he just used Manila as a stepping stone. I don't know. But one thing is very clear here, that in fairness to Leni Robredo, and this is of course a sensitive issue, and I raised this for quite some time. Obviously, alam niyo naman, I've openly called for, I've openly said na Riza should run for a higher office. At the very least, vice president. But the presidency should be a consideration for her. Riza herself said that while she's not going to talk about her own personal plans, she is definitely going to push for progressives, liberals, and genuine opposition to have a ticket for 2028. Now, ito yung mahalaga. Sabi ni Leni, I remember there was a small event dun sa office of the vice president just before I stepped down. Nag-take ng oath na si Senator Riza Hontiveros sa akin for the fresh term. During that event, sinabi ko na I'm already passing on the baton to Senator Riza. I became, quote-unquote, the leader of the opposition only because I was the highest-ranking member of the government. So parang ganun naman yun eh. So essentially, she was saying she was a leader of opposition back in the days because she was the highest-ranking as the vice president. And then because Riza Hontiveros later on was the only one from the opposition when national position, then automatically she should take up the cudgels. Wala na ako sa position si Senator Riza na yung highest ranking member of the government from the opposition, so rightful lang na siya na. Meaning siya na maging leader of the opposition. So I think it's very important and kudos for Leni Robredo to make the clarification. And then again, reminders, si Riza Hontiveros ang leader ng opposition. And therefore, we have to respect and support her in 2025 as she leads the opposition in a very, very tough race. Sobrang mahirap yung 2025 Senate race. Arguably, I would say easily the most competitive Senate race out there. 2 other Tulfos, who knows, 3 Dutertes, another Villar is running. My goodness, it's going to be crazy. 6 re-election is... So it's good for Leni to do that. But then again, I think none of this will take away the speculation that in 2028, it's still not clear who between the two will run, if ever any of them will continue to run in 2028. But then again, I think just 1 term would be too short for Leni to run again. But this is politics. If she does very, very well as a mayor of Naga, which is not impossible, if it creates and generates the kind of excitement that it could really generate, and if surveys show in 2027 that Leni is still seen as the most viable candidate for the presidency of the opposition, I won't be surprised Riza will run as a vice president to Leni Robredo. But again, this is very speculative, but we have to do these kinds of analysis. Precisely because parati ko sinasabi, hindi pwede na gagawin mo lang yung analysis or gagawin mo yung plano pag nandyan na yung elections. This is done over years. This is done over the decade. And that's what I appreciate with Riza Ontiveros. Ang sinabi niya, ngayon pa lang, tinatrabaho niya yung grounds, yung fondasyon ng genuine opposition for 2028. Because ayaw natin na maging purong Duterte versus Marcos lang yon. My goodness, this country is more than just dynasties, or those two dynasties definitely. And the drama of Duterte, enough of that. We have to move on, we have to move forward, and it's time for the genuine opposition to get its act together and be competitive, or at least make sure mayroon siyang say sa 2028 race. So, interesting times, guys. Interesting times. And I'm glad that both Leni and Riza are gonna keep active in the 2025 elections, and I'm glad na ang maging opposition sa 2025 ay hindi lang yung mga naging opposition dahil hindi binigay ng position. Na meron tayong genuine opposition, and Leni Robredo absolutely will be one of the key figures in the genuine opposition run for elected offices for a better future and governance in the Philippines in 2025 as essentially something that will set the tone for 2028, kasi yun naman talagang labanan dito because I think many people are sick and tired of just being stuck between Marcos Duterte dynasty versus dynasty, all of those things. Maraming salamat mga kameta. Thank you very much again for your constant support. Thank you again sa lahat ng sumusuporta sa atin. Pataas na pataas yung ratings natin on Spotify and podcast. Please continue to rate us. Deep Dive with Richard Hidarian. Libre lang po yan. Libre lang magbigay ng stars. Well, yun ang nagbigay ng stars na support. I also appreciate it, tremendously appreciate it. Thank you very much for that. But I'm talking about rating, 5-star rating. If you think we deserve it, please give that, because we need to get as many ratings as possible to do well. More or less regular naman ng mga top 100 tayo sa Spotify. But I'm really hoping we go for top 10. Nakita ko kanina, ang Cool Pals ay top 20 na sila. I think nagta-top 10 din sila, number 9 or something like that. We want to be in top 10 eventually sa Spotify. And we want to maintain there in Spotify top 10. So that eventually, hopefully, we can have a Spotify event or something like that. Yun ang gusto natin. And all of that is, of course, part of a bigger effort we have, although at a very, humble level in my case, to create a discourse, a positive discourse. So kung sa Amerika meron silang Pod Save America or whatever, to make sure na medyo may kwenta, medyo maayos-ayos na hindi sabog yung Democrats and the fight for democracy. This is our own also kind of a Pod Save Philippines. Our little effort at making sure we have intelligent, critical thinking discourse pagdating sa ating politika. And in the process also of, I'm learning, guys. I'm also learning from you guys. I'm learning also from these conversations, because yes, it is a conversation, because I'm seeing your comments as it comes in. It's just a different kind of interaction. And of course, kudos, and by the way, shout out also dun sa mga ibang kameta natin na meet natin over the weekend. Mukhang ibang tao na-recognize tayo from boses natin. Wait, ikaw si Idarian, medyo ganun. So, thank you sa lahat ba nakikinig sa atin. Thank you sa lahat ng mga ginawa tayong background noise, no? Habang nag-grocery, habang nag-shopping, habang naglinis ng bahay, habang nagluluto, habang wag naman naligo, medyo iba na yun. Or nag-gym rather, or something like that. Alright? Thank you very much, guys, for your constant support, for your generous support. I really appreciate it. And please also don't forget to subscribe to us on our different platforms and channels. Vito sa Facebook, Richard Ferranda Haydarian, and also, of course, YouTube. Very, very important on YouTube. Richard Haydarian Vlogs. Please, libre lang mag-subscribe. Your support counts. Your support matters. It's what gives us strength. It's what gives us inspiration. And I'm telling you guys, the more you support us, the more we are in the conversation, the more we can get the algorithm to work in favor of us spreading the good message, the more na makinig sa atin yung mga officials and people in power. Because the more power we have, good power, moral power, satyagraha, Gandhi kind of truth force we have, the more we can push our politicians, our leaders, our future leaders to do better for the country. Alright? Yun pong kailangan natin. This is our little way of creating pressure, creating inspiration, and creating the right discourse and blueprint for nation building and success of the Philippines. Maraming salamat. God bless, and talk to you soon.